Welcome everyone to Steve Savant's Money, the name of the game. I'm your host, Steve Savant, syndicated financial columnist and money color commentator. On today's show, being a buyer in the seller's market. Part 4 in our series on the residential housing market with real estate expert, Mike Bodeen. Welcome to the show, Mike.
Thank you, Steve.
Wow, buyer in a seller's market. Just that phrase puts the fear of God in me, right? We're talking about serious issues, interest rates rising, inventory tight. It's a tough place to be. But people like you have been around this. You've been through how many of these cycles have you seen?
More than I wish I could count.
But enough to know how to play in this market. This is where you get into this issue. If you want a professional, if you're a buyer in a seller's market, you want a real estate professional involved in this because their experience, and Mike, you have how many years you've been in this?
42.
42, oh my gosh, almost a half a century. When you think about it.
Thanks.
I'm trying to up our game on who's got gray and who doesn't. But really, when you think about it, though, you need experience. You've been through this before several times. When you're a buyer in a seller's market like this, inventory's tight, interest rates are going up. You need somebody that knows how to play. And in my view, we talk about this on the financial side all the time. You need advisors that have went through retirement, that understand what's going on in retirement. I can't have inexperienced people telling me how to set myself up for the rest of my life. I need experienced people, experienced financial advisor making calls for me. I need the same thing in real estate, especially now. And this is the toughest market to be in. And so we talked about millennials. We've talked about seniors. Let's go to the middle market. Everybody over 30 and under 60, that 30-year swath of people. Mike, what are some of the things that you would say these are some of the nuggets that you've learned over the year how to play being a buyer in a seller's market?
Well, first of all, it's really a team approach. We hear that a lot these days, but it really is true. And, yes, I'm a real estate professional, but you need to have a professional that you can trust, that has experience, because you need about every advantage that you can get. So in this particular market, having a professional realtor is going to help you point the way to other professionals, such as a lender. Most people don't know where do I get a loan. So starting out, it's so important to be able to get, if I want to buy a house this spring, I need right now to be checking with a lender. You need to go with a good, reputable lender so where you can find out where do you stand, how much can I afford, and you need to know, and your realtor professional needs to know how much you can afford. Why would we want to look at homes that are $50,000 higher than you can afford? Doesn't make sense.
So you could pre-qualify yourself. You definitely want to get pre-qualified.
Yes, and we would say it a step further than that. There's pre-qualified and there's pre-approved. And
what's the difference?
The difference is that basically pre-approved, you have already gone through the approval process. Your lender has said bank approved. So rather than just pre-qualified, you can get pre-qualified in a 20-minute phone call with a lender. They'll just want to run your credit, and that's good. Run your credit, find out, make sure where you're at. They'll ask you how much money you make. They'll say, well, how much debt do you have? In 20 minutes, you can tell a lender that. But that is like so far from reality so often that it's going to be important. If I'm a realtor representing a seller, I want to know where this guy is. If he's just pre-qualified, okay, that's all our contract right now calls for. But if it's a pre-approval, that person is done. Their lender has already approved them. The only thing that they haven't approved is the house and the value of the house, which is an appraisal. Other than that, they're done. So if I'm a seller and with my realtor, and I'm looking at in this market too, where you're looking at multiple offers, it's like not necessarily the highest one you're going to take. It's like you're going to take the one that's going to go to the finish line.
So I just heard you just put a monster value on being ready to go. Bank's already done. All yours is done. All you're looking for is appraisal in the house. Now all of a sudden in a bidding, I might say that guy's only pre-qualified. I'm not doing that. I'm not taking his bid. I'm already going to as a seller, I'm going to discount it.
That's right.
So all of a sudden this becomes a player. So your first issue is, I don't know a mortgage person, but you do. You do this all the time. You have relationships all day long. Okay. So if you walk in there and you'll know right up front, they'll be able to get this done, not only pre-qualified, but I mean get the banking done. Everything's done except for the appraisal and the actual purchase home.
I use lenders, and I've got a couple of them that I use, that will tell me the truth. I don't want a lender saying, oh yeah, Mike, we can get this guy approved here. And then down at the wire, the deal falls through because of their financing there. I want a lender that's going to tell me right up front. I want to know now, will they go to the finish line?
How many people, do you see still today that some bank loans, they said it was good, but then at the last second, they just fall apart, they go south?
I had one recently. It was interesting. It was a VA loan. And he was, and this was with my best lender. And he was approved. He was loan approved. They ran the typical different tri-merge credit reports. Everything was fine. And then 3 weeks into the process, finds out that VA disapproves him. Interestingly enough, from our last segment, it had to do with a student loan. For whatever reason, this student loan did not appear on these previous credit reports. But but all of a sudden it showed up. It killed the deal because it was good. Even though he had continued to make payments on his student loan, they had sent him paperwork saying, hey, are you going to re-up on this thing? They do that each year. And he didn't respond to it. He had moved, so they lost, the paperwork was lost, whatever. And so as it turns out, the VA said, well, we can do this, but it's going to take 30 days now to correct the problem there. And that cost him that house.
Wow. All right, so that's one of your major issues. Let's get the banking all done, and I mean done.
Yep.
Okay, what's another thing that you're looking at as a buyer in a seller's market?
Well, the loan is the most important thing there. But now it's going to be as far as looking at homes. And when you come across, especially if you're in a hot market like we are in Phoenix under $500,000, and you find a house that you want to put an offer on, you may not want to play too many games about price and that sort of thing. If you're convinced that after all the homes that you've seen, that this particular house at $500,000, for example, is a good deal, you know, and your realtor can help support that with comparable sales in the neighborhood, I wouldn't get too cute as far as your negotiations, because whereas right now you might be the only person bidding on that house, the longer it takes to negotiate that thing, somebody else is right behind you. They're coming in and they're going to slide in there and they're going to buy the house. They're going to just come in at full price or over full price and do it. So I think you have to be wise up front as far as what you're going to. Don't be too cute as far as trying to save $5,000, 1% on a $500,000 price.
In a market like this, it's really not going to help.
Our problem as realtors is, will I be able to find you that same home that you just lost? You love this house. Am I going to be able to find that same house out there? And oftentimes we can't.
All right, so are you prepping your clients in advance and telling them this is what you need to think about? You can't. This is not a negotiation market. This isn't put somebody. Even if you have cash, you know, who cares? The guy. This is a great market for sellers. So I really need to make sure that when I walk in there and I see that house, especially if my wife, I've noticed if that wife likes that home, we're not going to dick her about $5,000 in a market like this. We got to take it. I mean, isn't that really reality?
That is what we try to do with our clients when they come in and they sit down. We want to sit down with them. I'm always a little uncomfortable if I don't know my client too well. Maybe I've only talked to them on the phone. Maybe they're relocating from Boston. They're coming over here. I really like to be able to sit down with them and go over all these things and explain to them what our market is. Now, if they're buying in the $2 million plus market, well, that's a different ballgame. Then they're in the catbird seat in that price range, but the seller's in the catbird seat under $1 million.
Well, when you think about it, those are really good things to think about. But there's a small demographic of population that can play in the $2 million and above market. So it's pretty
even
thin.
over $1 million here.
Even over $1 million. All right. Well, that is from a buyer's point of view. These are some of the things that we need to really think about and talk through and get over the psychology of not getting cute during negotiations, because you're probably going to lose your home. And how many homes have you seen? And I know, Mike, the answer to this, but I want our listener. How many have you seen time and again where you got a little tight, a little stingy, you try to be cute about negotiating, took a negotiation course, and this is not the time to play?
In most markets today across the country, I tell my clients, time is not your ally. If you're a renter today, time is not your ally.
So
if you're a buyer today, time is not your ally.
And when you're looking at homes, I mean, it really, do you spend days and weeks looking now, or no, you got to make a decision?
pretty much, it's pretty quick these days.
Yeah, I would say. Well, listen, don't forget to watch our next segment, Being a Seller in a Seller's Market, Part 5 in our series on the residential housing market. And keep in mind, before moving forward with any of the ideas you've heard on our show, always check with your tax consultant, legal counsel, financial advisor, in this case, real estate agent. Don't go it alone. You need to really have a professional helping with your home, especially in this market. You've been watching Steve Savant's Money. The name of the game.